Physical appearance.
Attractive. Bald. Blonde. Curly. Cute. Dark. Fair. Good-looking. Gorgeous. Long. Medium height. Medium length. Plain. Pretty. Short. Spiky. Stocky. Straight. Strong. Tall. Thin. Wavy. Well built.
Does your favourite colour say something about you?
Some psychologists use a colour test to make a quick decision about somebody's personality. They think your favourite colour says something about who you are. For example, red. You are determined and confident. Perhaps you are also outgoing. You enjoy meeting and talking to people. You might be impatient too. You hate waiting. Blue. You are probably hard-working and easygoing. You may also be generous, happy to give other people your time. Green. You are loyal to your friends, ready to stay and help them even in difficult times. Maybe that's also because you are affectionate too, and you show your friends that you love them and care about them. This makes you very likable. White. You are well organised and tidy. You like things to be in the right place. Black. You are possibly very artistic and clever. And you may also be quite serious, thinking a lot about things and not laughing much. You may also be quite sensitive. You care about others and don't want to hurt them. Brown. This is the colour of people who are calm and also reliable. You know you can depend on them. Purple. You are probably quite imaginative, but you can be bossy, always telling others what to do. Sometimes you are arrogant and think you are better than everyone. Yellow. You are very lively and energetic. You always love being active. You're generally very cheerful and optimistic and think that good things are going to happen. Pink. You are probably very clever, but perhaps you are also shy and find it hard to chat to new people.
The colour test. Everybody knows the colour test. You choose your favourite colour and then find out what it says about your personality. Well, some people are changing their minds about the colour test. It seems we usually like colours because we like objects that are always or usually that colour. That's what psychologists at the University of California discovered in a 2010 study. They asked people if they loved or disliked 200 objects. From that information, they could predict the person's favourite colour with 80% accuracy. So, for example, if you love the sea and the sky, there's a strong possibility that your favourite colour is blue. YouTube cat videos. Right now, thousands of people are probably watching YouTube cat videos. How often do you watch cat videos? Choose your answer. 1. Never. 2. less than once a month. 3. 2 or 3 times a month. 4. Once a week. 5. 2 or 3 times a week. 6. Once a day. 7. More than once a day. 7,000 people replied to this question in an internet survey about personalities conducted by Indiana University's Media School. The average answer was somewhere between answers 5 and 6. According to the survey, people who answered 6 or 7 are generally more likable than the rest. But it found that they are also often shy. However, they are people who receive a lot of affection from others, so they don't watch cat videos because they need attention or human company. In fact, they are often more cheerful than people who rarely watch cat videos. Selfie fans. Some people are always taking selfies. What about you? Choose a sentence. 1. I never take selfies, or maybe just once or twice a year. 2. I rarely take selfies, maybe just 1 or 2 a month. 3. I often take selfies, at least once a week. When you take a selfie, how A. attractive and B. likeable do you think you appear in the selfie? Give yourself a mark from 1, not very, to 7, very. A study from the University of Toronto separated 200 students into 2 groups, one with people who often take selfies and another that rarely or never take selfies. They all took a selfie in a lab and then said how attractive and likeable they thought they appeared in the selfie. Then the researchers asked external assessors to give the selfies a mark for attractiveness and likability. The external mark and the mark from people who rarely or never take selfies was very similar. But people who often take selfies generally gave themselves a higher mark than the external assessors. They see themselves as more attractive and likeable than other people see them. Curiously, this was only true with selfies, not with photos that other people took of them. Speaker 1.
I think the font you use depends on what you're writing. I use Impact sometimes for signs and posters. You know, lighter stuff. And I use Times New Roman too. But I suppose the one I use the most, my favourite, is Helvetica. I use it for schoolwork, essays, that type of thing. Probably because it looks serious and official. The article says that means I'm reliable and loyal. I don't know if that's a nice way of saying that I'm dull and boring, but yes, I think I am reliable, and I'm definitely loyal to my friends.
Speaker 2.
I'm a bit angry about this article. It says I'm childish and immature. I know it also says that I'm easygoing and fun to be with, which is true, but childish? Just because I like Tecton? I don't think you can say something about a person's personality just from the font they like. Personally, I like Tecton because it doesn't look too official. It looks a bit like handwriting. It has a personal touch, and that's nice.
Speaker 3.
I knew what the article was going to say about me when I chose Isabella as my favourite font. Cute, easygoing, artistic, but not very serious. That's only half true, half of who I am. Actually, my friend said I just chose Isabella because my name is Isabel. But I like it because it looks lively and exciting. The others look dull and boring. I don't think it's a good idea to use a font like this for schoolwork, though, obviously. I use Times New Roman for that. But for an invitation to a party, this is great.
Speaker 4.
This is really funny. The article says I'm lazy and unartistic, just because I chose Times New Roman. I didn't really choose it. That's the thing. Times New Roman is just the first font that appears automatically on my dad's computer when I open a document. That's the only reason I use it. But that doesn't make me unartistic. I think I'm exactly the opposite. I love music, and in my free time I play the guitar and sing, and I enjoy painting. Anyway, I'm not lazy either. I just don't believe the font I use is important.
Speaker 5.
What I like about this font is the name. It says it all. Impact. It sounds big, positive, and confident, just like me. But I don't agree when the article says I'm confident and bossy. Bossy sounds really negative. There's nothing wrong with being confident and wanting to make an impact. Anyway, another reason I like this font is because it's incredibly clear and easy to read, especially when you use it for presentations and slides. It isn't the only font I use, but it's great for certain things.
Hi, you're Lucy's cousin, aren't you?
Yes, that's right. My name's Ellie.
I'm Megan. This is your first year at this school, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Hey, you don't play basketball, do you? We need new players for the team.
I play a little, but I'm not mad about basketball.
Do you play any other sports?
Yes, I really enjoy swimming. And I'm quite keen on tennis.
Great. What are your other hobbies then?
I love music.
Really? What kind of music?
I like all sorts, but my favourite is rock.
Now I remember. You can play the guitar, can't you? Lucy told me once.
Yeah, I'm in a band. We're really good.
Do you know Josh? Josh Smith? He plays the guitar too. Come on, let me introduce you to him.
One.
She's American. Isn't she?
2.
They don't like football. Do they?
3.
Joe and Sophie can ski. Can't they?
4.
Anna's got very short hair. Hasn't she?
5.
His grandfather isn't bald. Is he?
6.
We can't use mobile phones in class. Can we?
7.
Jack loves rock music. Doesn't he?
8.
Maria doesn't own a pet. Does she?
Types of transport.
Cable car. Coach. cruise ship, ferry, helicopter, hot air balloon, jet ski, lorry, truck, motorbike, plane, scooter, skateboard, spacecraft, tram, underground, subway, van, yacht,
Travel.
arrivals, cancel, catch, delay, departures, fare, information screens, luggage, miss, platform, return, single,
Travelling by train.
When you go to the station to catch a train, if you don't already have a ticket, you go and buy one at the ticket office. You can buy a single if you're only going one way, or a return if you're coming back. The fare is more expensive when you travel first class because it's more comfortable and you have more space. There isn't an extra cost for luggage. You can take 2 or 3 big bags without a problem. When you have your ticket, you need to find the platform that your train is leaving from. If you arrive late, you may miss your train. But sometimes there can be a delay and your train doesn't arrive on time. And sometimes there's no train at all because they cancel it. It's important to keep looking at the information screens, which tell you when and where to find a train. Of course, they show the arrivals, the times that trains are coming into the station, and the departures, the times that trains are leaving.
Accommodation.
Bed and breakfast, campsite, caravan, holiday home, holiday apartment, homestay, hostel, motel, tent.
Discover New Zealand. Types of accommodation.
Motel. Perfect for you when you're driving around. You want comfort and maybe even luxury, but you don't want to stop for too long. Homestay. Staying here is a great way to meet friendly people, share a local family's home, eat with them, and really get to know New Zealand and New Zealanders. Hostel. You're young and you want nice accommodation without spending too much. This is just right for you. Bed and breakfast. An ideal option if you want to sleep in a friendly place for the night, eat and get your energy back in the morning, and then maybe move on. Holiday home. Holiday apartment. You prefer to cook your own meals and have a bit more space? This is the option for you, and you can come and go as you like. Campsite. If you're driving around with a caravan or you're carrying your own tent, there are lots of fields and open areas where you can stop and make yourself at home.
Intrepid Travellers. Annie Londonderry.
On the 27th of June, 1894, a woman called Annie Kopczowski began an amazing journey. She was only 24 and managed to go around the world on a bicycle. When she began the journey, She had never ridden a bike before, apart from 2 quick lessons in the days just before starting. So what made her begin such a difficult journey? 2 rich men in Boston had a bet. One said that a woman was incapable of cycling around the world. The other disagreed. Annie accepted the challenge. She had just 15 months to complete the journey. When she set off, she was wearing a very long, impractical skirt, and her bike was incredibly heavy. But she soon changed both. A company called the Londonderry Lithia Springwater Company paid her $100 to put a Londonderry sign on her bike and to use Londonderry as her last name. In fact, to pay for the trip, she advertised anything, from milk to perfume. She also sold photographs and autographs and gave talks about her adventures. In her talks, she said she had hunted tigers in India and fought a war and fallen in a frozen river in Japan. People loved her stories, whether true or not. Londonderry returned to America on the 23rd of March, 1895. By the time she arrived in Chicago, her journey had taken exactly 15 months. People wanted to hear her stories, and she began writing about them in a New York newspaper. Her first article began, "I am a journalist and a new woman," if that term means that I believe I can do anything that any man can do.
Intrepid Travellers, Lexi Alford.
In 2019, a 21-year-old woman from California called Lexi Alford became the youngest person to travel to every country in the world. The last of the world's 196 countries that Lexi visited was North Korea on the 31st of May, 2019. The first was when she was just a child. Of course, the fact that Lexi's family are travel agents probably helped her. By the time she was only 18, she had already travelled to 72 countries. Travelling around the world, often alone, wasn't easy. In fact, one of the hardest parts was getting visas. In some cases, she applied once and then she tried again and again until she finally got it. Visiting so many countries isn't cheap either. Lexi paid for her trips by selling photos, writing articles, and advertising different products on social media. But apart from that, she was also careful to budget her money. She looked for cheap accommodation, such as hostels, and didn't waste money on smartphones or Wi-Fi. So why did Lexi try to break the record? She said that one of her goals was to inspire other people, particularly young women. Lexi's experiences show that the world is a welcoming and friendly place. In some cases, it isn't portrayed this way. So Lexi was happy to show a more positive side. She was surprised to find that some of the most incredible countries she visited were ones that she hadn't expected to be very interesting, including some countries that some people consider to be quite dangerous.
1.
We need to check in at 7 o'clock.
2.
Here's the check-in desk.
3.
What time does the plane take off?
4.
What time is takeoff?
5.
The car didn't break down.
6.
The car didn't have a breakdown.
We're continuing our weekly podcast series, 50 Objects That Improve the World. Today's object is something that we're used to seeing and maybe using every day. It's the bicycle. Sarah, personally I love cycling, but how exactly did the bike improve the world?
Hi, Leo. Well, when you think, before the bicycle became popular, people used to travel from one place to another on horses or in coaches pulled by horses. Then there was the train. But working class people didn't used to have enough money to keep a horse or to pay for train tickets, which used to be quite expensive.
But didn't bikes used to be expensive too?
Yes, they did at first, and they used to be quite dangerous to ride too. But they became safer and prices went down when more people bought them. Almost anybody could buy one, even people working in factories. Bicycle clubs started appearing globally, and people from different towns and villages would meet up much more than before. By 1890, about 1.5 million men and women were cycling. That's just in Britain.
You said women. That was an important change that bicycles brought, wasn't it? More freedom for women.
That's right. The bicycle was really popular with women, not just men, and it gave them freedom and mobility. It also changed women's fashion as they started to wear trousers instead of long, heavy skirts, which were impractical and dangerous when cycling.
Another interesting fact is that roads improved because of bicycles, not because of cars.
That's right. People had started to use the train to travel longer distances, and that left the roads in Britain in quite bad condition. Cyclists started to demand improvements in the condition of roads. When the car started to become popular, the roads were already quite good, and that was thanks to cyclists.
Sarah, can you explain the connection between bicycles and flying?
Yes. People usually say that the Wright brothers were the first to create and fly an aircraft. They flew for the first time in 1903. But what many people don't know is that they used to have a bicycle shop. When they repaired bikes, they would study them in detail. This helped them to come up with a light, fast design for their first plane. At first, their bike shop was very successful, and they used a lot of the money they made from selling bikes to build their flying machines. So, the first aircraft appeared thanks to the bicycle.
The great thing is that the bike remains important today, too.
Absolutely. The next big revolution was the car, but bikes are now more popular than ever. Everything about bikes is positive. Cycling is good for your health and keeps you fit. And bikes are great for the environment. Today, in many big cities, we're used to seeing bike or scooter share systems, where you can get on a bike or scooter and travel around the city centre without causing traffic problems or pollution.
So, the bicycle is still changing the world today?
That's right.
Conversation 1.
Good afternoon. Can I help you?
Yes, please. Could you tell me the time of trains to Brighton?
No problem. Let's see. The next one leaves at 16:05. That's 4:05. And there's another one at 16:28. And another at 16:35. They're quite frequent.
That's great. Are they all direct trains?
They are, yes. No need to change.
And how long is the journey?
It depends. Let's see. The 16:05 is 39 minutes. The 16:28 is 33 minutes. And the 16:35 is 37 minutes.
OK. Could I buy a ticket?
Of course. Would you like a single or return?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Do you need a single ticket or are you coming back to Gatwick?
Oh, a single, please.
Have you got a student rail card?
No, sorry.
No worries. OK, let's see. The cheapest fare is £8.80. That's for the 16:05 or the 16:35. And the 16:28 is £10.50.
Could I have a ticket for the 16:05 train, please?
Yes, of course. That's £8.80. Are you paying by card?
Yes. Here you are.
OK. Here's the ticket. And here's your card.
Thank you. Oh, can you tell me which platform it is?
Yes, it's platform 8.
OK. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, and have a good journey.
Conversation 2.
Hi there. How can I help?
Hello. Can you tell me the time of direct coaches to Brighton?
Yes, of course. There's a coach at 4:10, and the next one is at 6:10.
6:10. That's quite late. Could you tell me how long it takes to get to Brighton?
It depends on the traffic, but it usually takes 45 minutes.
Can you tell me the price, please?
Single or return?
Pardon?
Would you like a single ticket or a return?
Single, please.
That's £10.40.
OK. I'd like a ticket for the one at 6:10, please. Here's my card.
There you are. The coach leaves from Bay 6. Have a nice trip.
Bay 6. Thank you. Bye.
Houses and homes.
Block of flats. Bungalow. Cottage. Detached house. Flat. Houseboat. Mansion. Semi-detached house. Terraced house.
Homes in the UK. There are different types of houses in the UK. In big cities, where space is a problem, many people live in a flat. This is the smallest type of home, where one big, perhaps tall building, a block of flats, is divided into many different homes. Perhaps the most common type of home is a semi-detached house. This is where two houses go together and are connected by a common wall. On the other hand, it can be nice to live in a detached house because your house is completely separate, with space on both sides. If you're really lucky and rich, you can live in style in an enormous mansion, maybe with your very own video games room. Another type of house is the terraced house. This has a house on both sides. Each house is part of a line of houses. These are usually smaller and maybe older. Some people live in an old, traditional cottage. These are pretty houses in villages or out in the country. Another option is a bungalow, a type of house which only has one floor and no stairs. Finally, there are a number of people in the UK who prefer to live in a houseboat. These are homes on rivers or canals. The great thing about these is that you can move your home about whenever you like. Places in a city.
Art gallery. Bridge. Castle. City centre. Factory. Fountain. Housing estate. Industrial estate. Market. Museum. Outskirts. Palace. Park. Port. Skyscraper. Square. Statue. Suburbs. Theatre. Town hall.
Adjectives describing cities.
Busy. Charming. Clean. Crowded. Dirty. Historic. Impressive. Lively. Modern. Noisy. Peaceful. Popular. Quiet. Run down.
A different way to visit London.
Have you ever visited London? If you have, I'm sure you've already seen lots of blue plaques on your walks. These plaques celebrate famous people and the historic link they have with the building where you find them. The plaques help you get inside the history of the city and the fascinating people who have lived there. The public can nominate a famous person for a plaque, but the organisation that awards them only gives them to somebody who has been dead for at least 20 years. The person doesn't need to be from Britain, and they can be famous for any reason. But the building where the blue plaque goes needs to be more or less in the same condition as when the person lived there. You may expect all these plaques to be on the walls of stunning palaces or huge mansions. However, not all famous people begin their lives in luxury. A good example is Freddie Mercury, the singer in Queen. He arrived in London from Zanzibar, now Tanzania, in 1964, and lived in a modest terraced house on the outskirts of London which had no central heating. He was living in the house when he met guitarist Brian May, and they formed a band. A plaque has been there since 2016. Nearly everybody knows Freddie Mercury, but one of the great things about the blue plaques is that they also celebrate the lives of heroes who are less well known. Take Mary Seacole, for example. She was a Jamaican nurse who helped to save the lives of many soldiers during a war in the 19th century by using herbal remedies. People forgot about her after her death, but now, perhaps thanks partly to her plaque, she has taken her place in history again. London has always been a very cosmopolitan city, so it's no surprise that there are plaques for famous foreigners, such as the artist Vincent van Gogh. Van Gogh lived in London for a year when he was 20 years old. He hadn't started painting yet, but his visits to see the paintings in the National Gallery probably inspired some of his later works. And it's clear that London was a city close to his heart. One day, he received a painting of Westminster Bridge and told his brother, "When I saw this painting, I felt how much I love London." So, if you haven't been to London yet and are planning to go one day, don't forget to look out for blue plaques. They could be for world-famous singers like David Bowie or actors like Charlie Chaplin. Or they may be there to celebrate somebody you've never heard of before, like Luke Howard, 1772 to 1864, namer of clouds, the first person to use the words cumulus, stratus, cirrus, and others to describe cloud shapes. And what about the plaque that has just appeared that says Jacob von Hogflume, 1864 to 1909, inventor of time travel, lived here in 2189. Don't worry, the plaque was a joke.
Recently, we've been receiving questions about smart cities. So today we've invited our technology specialist, Rosemary Price, to come and answer them. Rosemary, the first and most obvious question is, what is a smart city?
The easiest way to define a smart city is to say it's a city which uses information and communication technologies to improve the lives of the people who live in the city.
Can you give us an example?
Yes. Take smart bus stops, for example. In Barcelona, these bus stops have made waiting for buses an interactive experience. Passengers receive constant information about the next buses with maps and times, but they also have USB charging stations, free Wi-Fi, and direct access to special apps that help them learn more about the city.
So, is Barcelona a good example of a smart city?
Yes, it's one of the best. I've visited the city 4 or 5 times, and I've been really impressed with the great things they've done there. For example, they've been changing many streetlights to LED lighting over the last few years, and they're continuing to do so. These streetlights can detect if people are nearby and use less energy when the streets are empty. That means they save up to 30% energy, which is a lot, and a lot of money too. And that's not all. The streetlights also have sensors that receive information about pollution, the temperature, and the weather in general. This information is part of a complete network linking different services in the city. For example, the streetlight knows when it's raining, and it can automatically control the park watering systems so they don't water the plants or trees. That helps to save a lot of water, of course.
And I believe these streetlights also offer free internet access.
That's right. And another great thing is that everybody in the city can have access to all of the information from the streetlight sensors. So, in one important square in Barcelona, the residents were always complaining about the noise. Sensors in the streetlights showed that they were right, that the noise was excessive in that area. With that information, they've been able to protest and do something about it.
I also heard something about smart systems for rubbish and bins.
Yes, they have smart bins in Barcelona. Sensors in the bin give information about when the bin is full and when they need to collect the rubbish. They can also discover which parts of the city need more bins because there's more rubbish there. And they also warn you if there are any dangerous substances in the bin. Thanks to all that, the city is cleaner and safer than ever.
Well, that all sounds very smart to me. Rosemary, thank you.
In the photo, I can see a port. I think it's Venice because in the top left corner, I can see some flags which look like Italian flags. And in the background, there's a really enormous cruise ship. I think it's bigger than the houses on the right and left. But in the foreground, there are lots of smaller boats, and some of them are packed with people. Perhaps they're tourists, because I know Venice is a very popular tourist destination. In the middle of the photo, I think I can see a bridge. The unusual thing, compared to other cities, is that you can't really see any cars or roads. It looks nice, because there's water everywhere. I'd love to visit Venice one day, because I really like cities like this, where there are ancient palaces, historic museums, and beautiful squares to visit. It's true that one of the problems with cities like Venice is that everybody wants to go and see them, and so the city is probably always busy and packed with tourists. And it's hideous to see huge ships like this next to the charming old port. In my opinion, they need to control the number of cruise ships so the city isn't always crowded with tourists.
Food.
avocado, butter, carrot, cherry, chips, cod, cream, crisps, lamb, lettuce, muffin, oil, olive, pancake, peas, peach, pie, plum, prawn, rice, semi-skimmed milk, spinach, sweet corn, tuna, turkey.
Describing food.
Baked, boiled, fattening, fresh, fried, frozen, greasy, juicy, processed, raw, roast, rotten, salty, spicy, stale, tasty.
Meals.
Canteen, dessert, dish, fast food, main course, packed lunch, school meal, snack, starter, vending machine.
School food in Australia.
In Australian schools, there is sometimes a canteen, a room where you can eat. This is a place where students can buy something for lunch, like a simple restaurant. It isn't always cheap, but you can choose what you want. If you're hungry, you can buy a warm main course, like a meat pie with vegetables or lasagna. Meat is popular in Australia, and the most popular national dishes are lamb or barbecued sausages. They often sell fast food, like burgers, pizzas, kebabs, or nachos too. If you prefer something light, you can just pick up a simple snack, like a sandwich, for example. There are always a variety of desserts like fruit salad, cakes, or ice cream. At Australian schools, they usually eat just 2 courses. They don't usually have a starter, something light to begin the meal. Other Australian students take a packed lunch to school, which their parents usually prepare. They take it in a box. Because of the good weather, it's popular to eat outside. There are usually lots of water fountains around the school, which they call bubblers. There are often vending machines too. These sell drinks or packaged food, but in theory, they don't sell unhealthy products.
Save the planet. Eat less meat.
When you go out next weekend, will you go for a burger? Maybe you should rethink your plans. A recent study by the EAT Lancet Commission says that in the future, we will need to reduce our consumption of red meat in Europe by 77% and in the US by 84%. Expert Marco Springman says we will need to reduce it by 90% or global warming is going to get out of control. So, what's the connection between eating meat and saving the planet? According to the Water Footprint Network report 2010, to produce 1 kilo of beef, it takes 15,145 litres of water. You also need 28 calories of cereals for every calorie of meat produced for human consumption. So, to grow more food for animals, some farmers are cutting down rainforests. This automatically speeds up global warming. And the methane and nitrous oxide emissions from the cows themselves are also speeding the process up. Another big worry is that there is not enough land to feed the world. Right now, there are about 7 billion people on Earth. To feed them, we use about 40% of the planet's total land mass. But, based on the latest numbers, the population is going to grow to about 10 billion by 2050. And there isn't much more land we can use for farming because the rest is on mountains, deserts, or ice. One possible solution for the meat problem is to create it artificially in laboratories. This is what they are doing at Maastricht University in the Netherlands. Professor Mark J. Post produced the world's first lab-grown hamburger there in 2013. The burger was tasty, but overpriced. It cost $330,000 to make. The price has gone down since then, but it's still relatively expensive. Also, the meat is dry, not juicy like natural meat. Once Post and others have solved these problems, lab-grown beef will be a real option. In fact, experts predict that by 2040, 60% of our meat will be lab-grown or plant-based. However, the fastest and most obvious solution is to eat less or no meat. In fact, more and more younger people are doing this. An agency called Acosta found that 26% of millennials in the UK are currently vegetarian or vegan. There is also a new movement called flexitarianism. Unlike vegetarians, flexitarians do not believe meat has to disappear completely from our diet. It's okay to eat a chicken sandwich from time to time, but they recommend eating much more fruit, vegetables, cereals, and nuts to avoid the negative consequences of excessive meat eating, such as heart disease, animal cruelty, and, above all, environmental destruction. A UK charity called the Soil Association is meeting the government soon to suggest that schools have 1 day a week without meat. But politicians know that trying to control what people eat isn't always an easy decision. The UK government has already created a tax for sweet drinks, taken steps towards making school meals healthier, and banned the sale of energy drinks to young children. Could they do something similar with meat one day? Should they?
Speaker 1.
Today, lots of people are saying that genetically modified food is the food of the future and that it'll help to save the planet. I'm not so sure we need complicated food like that. In fact, I think that we'll be eating lots of potatoes in the future. The thing is, potatoes have different minerals like zinc and iron, and they also have vitamin C. If it was really necessary, humans could survive on just water and potatoes for about a year. That's one of the reasons NASA are doing experiments to see if we could grow potatoes on Mars. Imagine! Perhaps one day humans will be living on another planet thanks to the potato. Right now, they're doing tests in Peru to see how well potatoes can survive in very dry conditions and with big differences in temperature. But forget Mars. With higher temperatures here on Earth, and with less and less water, perhaps the potato will help us to survive here when other food stops growing.
Speaker 2.
I know a lot of people are not happy about changing nature, but by 2050, I believe that by doing this, we will have helped to stop hunger in some parts of the world. Thanks to genetic engineering, farmers will be growing food much faster than they are now, and the food they grow will have more essential nutrients, because you can add minerals, proteins, and vitamins to it. The plants will be much more resistant to disease so farmers will be able to grow food in difficult conditions. The great thing is that all of this will make food cheaper, and that means people in poorer parts of the world will all be able to eat more and better food. In some parts of the world, people eat too much. But what's even worse is about 800 million people are hungry, and 2 billion don't get enough of the minerals, proteins, and vitamins that we need to be healthy. So, if genetically modified food can solve this, I'm definitely in favour.
Speaker 3.
I have no idea what food will save the planet, but I do know that people don't think enough about food packaging. We need to stop buying plastic packaging and start using new materials. There's already an amazing bottle that you can actually eat. It's called an OHO bottle. I hope we'll all be using them soon. Think of all the plastic we could save. According to the Recycle Now website, homes across the UK use about 35 million plastic bottles every day. OHO bottles are made from plants and seaweed. If you don't want to eat the bottle, you can just throw it away. A plastic bottle can take between 450 and 1,000 years to decompose and disappear in the earth. But an OHO bottle will have decomposed and disappeared in about the same time as a piece of fruit. The only thing is that they're quite small at the moment. I hope they work out how to make them bigger soon.
Now I want you to look at these different places where you can eat out. I want you to imagine that it's the end of term. Your class is going to organise an end-of-term meal for the whole class. Which of these 5 places do you think is the best for your end-of-term meal?
OK, what do you think about a fast food restaurant?
Personally, I don't like fast food, but I think that a lot of other people do, and they go to fast food restaurants quite often, at the weekend, for example. But that's why I don't think it's a very good place to celebrate a special event.
I see what you mean, but if they go there at the weekend, it's because they really enjoy it, so I don't think it's a bad idea.
What about the school canteen then? That is a bit boring to celebrate a special event, isn't it?
Yes, I agree with you. We eat there every day.
In my opinion, we need to choose somewhere we don't usually go. So a picnic might be nice because we could have it in a park or somewhere special.
That's a good idea. Picnics are great because they aren't very expensive either.
Yes, that's the problem with an exclusive restaurant. The food and service will be really good, but I don't think most people will want to spend a lot of money on the meal.
Yes, you're right. What about in a classmate's house? That's cheap.
Yes, and it's quite comfortable. You can have music, for example, and people can move about.
I'm not sure. A house is probably going to be too small for all the class, and it isn't very special.
That's true. Well, the way I see it, the picnic is the best. It's cheap and easy for a larger group. Why don't we choose that?
OK, let's have it somewhere special, like the beach. And we can organise games and competitions too.
Study subjects.
Architecture, art, biology, business studies, chemistry, citizenship, computing, design and technology, drama, engineering, English, geography, history, law, literature, marketing, maths, media studies, medicine, music, philosophy, physical education, PE, physics, politics and international relations, psychology.
Nouns connected with studying.
Assessment, assignment, coursework, essay, excursion, extracurricular activities, field trip, mark, grade, research, term, timetable.
School life.
Our school year is divided into 3 terms, each one lasting approximately 3 months. At the beginning of the year, we get our timetable, which explains what we study each day and hour. 3 times a year, we have formal assessments, with exams in almost all subjects. Apart from exams, the teachers evaluate us by looking at our coursework, the work we do all year. This includes things like essays, short pieces of writing about a particular theme. But we also have to do some assignments, longer pieces of work where we have to do research first to find out more about the topic. The teachers give us a mark or grade for our exams and coursework, usually a number out of 10 or a percentage. After school, we can do extracurricular activities such as music, art, or sports. Sometimes we go on a short excursion, maybe to the theatre or to a museum exhibition. Maybe once a year we go on a longer field trip. For example, staying in the country for a few days to study geography or science.
Verbs and phrases connected with studying.
Catch up, fail an exam, fall behind, hand back, hand in, make an effort, make progress, pass an exam, pay attention, resit an exam, skip a lesson.
Should school start later for teenagers? What time do you have to get up during the week? Would you prefer to spend an extra hour in bed? If so, there's good news for you. Many scientists and researchers think that secondary school should start later in the morning.
At one secondary school in East Sussex, the director is thinking of changing the timetable to allow students to sleep an extra hour. At the moment, students must arrive at 8:25 a.m. and they can't go home until 3 p.m. But with the new timetable, they might start at 9:25 a.m. and finish at 4 p.m. In 2018, the French Education Minister approved an idea where older students in Paris can start school at 9 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. Meanwhile, in Singapore, they are considering putting back the start of lessons by 45 minutes. At the moment, Many schools there begin at 7:30 a.m. People are rethinking school hours because they have found that when you are a teenager, the biological rhythms of your body, called circadian rhythms, are different. The release of melatonin, a chemical in the brain that controls sleep, happens later in the day than in adults. This means that teenagers find it hard to sleep in the evening and don't wake up completely until later in the morning. So, to help students pay more attention in class, they think schools ought to start later. There is some evidence that a later school start does help. At a school in North Tyneside, teenage students don't have to start lessons until 10 a.m. In 2010, when the school changed to this later start, the percentage of good exam grades rose from 34% to about 50%. And it isn't only a question of student assessment. The quality of students' sleep can also change significantly when they get up later, helping their general health. This was discovered in a study carried out by the University of Washington in 2018. It focused on a group of teenagers in the US city of Seattle. A later start also means teens have more time for a healthy breakfast before school. All things considered, the more that teenagers sleep, the healthier and happier they seem to be. However, not everybody is in favour of changing school times. Some think getting up early is part of the discipline that we all have to learn as we grow up. They say that if teenagers feel tired in the morning, they should go to bed earlier and catch up on sleep at the weekend. Also, starting school later means finishing later. That means you have less time for extracurricular activities, hobbies, dinner, homework, and time with your family. And we mustn't forget that any change to the school timetable has a big effect on parents and the typical working day for all sorts of employees. For these reasons, it may be a problem to start school later. But there are other things that can help. Some people think that the first class of the day shouldn't need too much mental effort, so they say that, if possible, the day ought to begin with a subject like PE, not maths or physics. Anyway, whatever time school starts and whatever your first lesson is, experts recommend getting 8 to 9 hours sleep on weekdays. And remember, you'd better not sleep in class. Not many teachers like that. Director. Employee. Employer. Scientist. Technician.
1.
Have you ever heard of this school, Institut La Rose?
No. Why?
It says here that it's the most expensive school in the world.
How much does it cost?
Over €100,000 a year. That's for the lessons and for living there in the school.
Wow. Where is it?
Switzerland. It has 2 centres, one for the summer and another for the winter. It sounds really international. It says the students come from about 60 different countries. And you can study up to 4 languages there at a time. I'd love that.
Yes. Well, if I were you, I'd start saving up because it's not cheap, is it?
But it sounds like the food is good too. Look, every morning at break time they get hot chocolate.
Nice.
It says dinner is at 7:30 p.m. Oh, and boys must wear a tie to dinner. I can just imagine you. If you wore a tie at dinner time, your mum would think you were mad.
That's it. I've decided that unless they change that rule, I'll stay at my school.
2.
Hey, doesn't your sister go to this school? West Rise Junior School?
Yeah, that's right. Why?
I'm just reading about it. They do some really interesting things there, don't they?
Yeah, they've got a small farm there with sheep, chickens, even some water buffalo. And there's a beautiful area of countryside close to them, so they spend a lot of time doing outdoor activities. They're building a Bronze Age village there.
Yeah, I read that they learn to light fires and cook simple things outdoors. If I was at that school, I'd really enjoy doing that.
Me too. But they go out in all sorts of weather. The idea is that if you spend more time outdoors, you become stronger and more resilient.
But isn't it dangerous sometimes, outdoors and with animals?
Well, yes, I suppose it could be. For example, they learn not to have food with them when they're near the water buffalo. If they have any food, the buffalo will probably attack them. But that's just it. They learn to be careful with wildlife and to respect nature. I think that's great.
3.
Look at this school. It's amazing.
Let's see. The Green School. Where is it?
In Bali, Indonesia. There are 435 students from 35 different countries. The school campus is in a jungle, and the school buildings are all made of bamboo. It says that if it rains hard, the teachers have to stop teaching because the sound of the rain on the roof is so loud.
That sounds cool.
And they've got Wi-Fi and the latest technology there too. And the school wants to teach young people about the environment. They think that if children learn about nature when they're young, they'll be more interested in protecting the planet in the future.
So do they have a lot of classes outside?
Yeah, and there are animals all around them. It says they need a special person to take away dangerous snakes.
I wouldn't be able to concentrate on my lessons unless they took all the snakes away. Snakes are scary.
I suppose you get used to them when your school's in the middle of the jungle. Oh, this is interesting. It says the students don't have to wear shoes if they don't want to.
That's terrible.
Why?
That would make it even worse if you accidentally stood on a snake.
In this presentation, I'm going to talk about whether students still need to learn to write by hand at school. I'd like to begin by saying that I can see some reasons why maybe students don't need to learn handwriting at school. Firstly, some adults don't have to write by hand much because they use tablets, smartphones, and computers to write. In many jobs, people just use a keyboard. They don't use paper and a pen. Secondly, it's easier and faster to type than to write by hand, and it's also clearer because it makes our writing easier to understand. What's more, learning to write with good, clear handwriting takes a long time, and even then, not everybody has nice handwriting. You could say that it would be better to spend that time learning other more important things. But personally, I can see a lot more reasons why we should learn to write by hand. First of all, if you never learn to write by hand, you'll always have to depend on a phone or computer or some other type of technology to be able to write. For example, what happens if one day your battery runs out or you forget your phone? You won't be able to write anything down. I think it would be terrible if that happened in the future. It's also true, in my opinion, that writing by hand takes time and effort, but that's a good thing. I believe that writing things down helps you to understand them because you must pay attention to what you're writing about. Take assignments, for example. When you write out the information by hand, you really understand it. Just clicking and pasting doesn't help you to learn anything. Another thing is that your handwriting is part of who you are. I can recognize the handwriting of my best friends and my parents straight away. Handwriting is a special, personal thing, not like a typed message. To sum up, I think there are some reasons why students don't need to learn handwriting, but I don't think we ought to rely so much on technology. Yes, writing by hand needs time and effort, but the point that I'm trying to make is that if you don't make an effort, you don't really learn much. And our handwriting is also part of our unique personality.
Everyday technology.
Air conditioner. Cooker. Dishwasher. Electric toothbrush. Fan. Fridge freezer. Games console. Heater. Microwave oven. Remote control. Sat-nav. Smart speaker. Smart TV. Sound system. Toaster. Vacuum cleaner. Washing machine.
Describing technology.
Aluminium. Button. Ceramic. Curved. Glass. Gold. Hole. Leather. Metal. Plastic. Rectangular. Round. Rubber. Silver. Slot. Socket. Square. Steel. Straight. Strap.
Operating technology.
Charge. Recharge. Connect. Insert. Plug in. Press. Run out. Select. Swipe. Switch. Turn. Tap. Unplug.
Tech world. MP3 players.
Digital media players have many advantages over phones when it comes to listening to music. They're usually cheaper, lighter, better for sport, and they save your phone's storage and battery.
Getting started.
Just follow these simple steps to start using one. First, plug in the charger to the mains, the electrical power in your house. Connect the charger to the MP3 player in order to charge the battery. When this has finished, unplug the MP3 player from the charger. Insert your headphones or earphones into the correct socket. Switch the MP3 player on if it hasn't come on automatically. This depends on the model. You might need to press a button on the side or in the center of the MP3 player to do this. Sometimes there are pre-installed songs on the MP3 player. Select the song you want to listen to. To do this, swipe the screen up and down to see all of your songs and tap on the song you want. When you've finished, remember to turn the MP3 player off so that the battery doesn't run out.
A. We live in an age where it seems that new smart gadgets are being created every day. A few may become essential parts of our lives, and we'll wonder how we ever lived without them. Others? Well, time will tell. Take a look at these recent inventions and decide for yourself if you think they'll sink or swim. B. The Hush Me voice mask has been created by a team of inventors from Ukraine. At first, the mask looks like a pair of headphones. But you put it around your mouth, not your ears. The mask uses insulation, so your voice won't be heard by others. There are two main reasons why the mask is used. Firstly, because you're thinking of others and don't want to disturb them when you're speaking on your phone in a public place. Secondly, because you're interested in private conversations remaining private. They've even added sounds to the mask, so that instead of you, people hear another sound, for example, a monkey. So you don't only look strange, but you sound strange too. C. The first TV remote control was invented in 1950, although it was actually connected to the TV by a cable. Today, we have a battery-operated remote control cushion. It has the advantage that it's more difficult to lose than a normal remote control. But who knows what will happen if you sit on it by mistake? Or imagine that you fall asleep, move your head, and accidentally turn the volume all the way to the top. D. Everyday inventions are usually designed to save us time and/or energy. Take the vacuum cleaner, for example. Well, now we have vacuum shoes. The idea is you clean the floor while you walk. A Japanese company called Denso organised a competition to find the best new design concept. The competition was won by these vacuum shoes. Some people who have worn the shoes say they're heavy and not particularly attractive. The big problem is that they don't really work unless you keep stepping in the same place for a while. That means you don't get very far wearing these shoes. E. Sometimes, when a new invention appears, it can take a while before people get used to it, and before the price becomes more accessible. Maybe one day, laundroids will be found in every home. The laundroid is a large rectangular box, a bit like a wardrobe or giant fridge. At the bottom is a smaller insert box. This is where you throw in the clothes you've just washed and dried. The laundroid learns to fold each different item of clothing. Thanks to artificial intelligence, it will also learn which member of the family the clothes belong to, and will then separate them onto different shelves. But get ready to pay around $16,000. F. There are lots more smart gadgets appearing every day. Examples include smart toasters that learn how you like your toast. Can't you just select your favourite setting already? Smart water bottles that tell you when you're thirsty. Don't you know that already? And selfie stick spoons, so you can take photos of yourself eating your favourite cereal in the morning. But why? Some smart gadgets don't always seem that smart. Adjectives and their prepositions.
Afraid of. Aware of. Bored with. Different to. Different from. Fed up with. Fed up of. Good for. Good at. Bad for. Bad at. Interested in. Pleased with. Pleased about. Ready for. Responsible for. shocked at, shocked about, similar to, tired of, worried about.
Today on Tech Talk, we're looking at some surprising advances in artificial intelligence, or AI as it's usually called. With us is AI specialist Stephanie Short. Stephanie, to begin with, how would you define AI in simple terms?
Very simply, AI is the name we give to a computer system that can think for itself and do things that traditionally need human intelligence. So that includes things like solving problems, making decisions, and learning.
Can computers really learn?
Yes, it's called machine learning or deep learning. By giving a computer system lots and lots of data, from that data, the system learns how to do new things or to do them better. Let me give you an example. There's a computer program called AlphaZero that plays chess. It learned by playing 60 million games against itself. In just 9 hours, it had learnt how to beat the existing world computer chess champion.
Learning to do that in just 9 hours is incredible.
I agree. Soon we'll be able to get almost anything done by AI. One fascinating area where AI is developing fast is the world of writing. Using AI, an app developer and an art group worked together and had a fairy tale written. First, they taught a computer program every word of the fairy tales written by the Brothers Grimm. Then they told it to create brand new sentences and phrases that were similar to the originals.
I used to love reading fairy tales by the Brothers Grimm. What is this new fairy tale about?
A golden horse and a fox that can talk. And a prince and princess, of course.
But how convincing is it?
It's quite good. To be honest, they did need human writers to help out at different moments during the process, though.
Is AI only being used to write fairy tales?
No. A research company called OpenAI has had fake newspaper stories written by AI computer systems, and they were very realistic. In fact, too realistic. At the moment, they don't want anybody else to know how they did it because they're frightened. They think somebody could use it to create totally convincing fake news stories. The computer even wrote a text about some scientists who went walking in the Andes Mountains and discovered silver unicorns.
So it's going to be almost impossible to know what was written by a human being and what was created by a robot or computer.
That's possible, yes. And it isn't just texts. 3 French experts in an AI research studio called Obvious have had a series of portraits painted by a computer program. They fed the program 15,000 paintings from between the 15th and 20th centuries, and then told the software to create original works in the same style. The portrait of Edmond de Bellamy was one of the first robot paintings to be sold. Somebody bought it for $432,500. That's about 10 times more than they expected.
OK, but is it art? I mean, if it's not made by an actual human being.
That's an interesting question. It's still a human who had the original idea for the painting, a human who created the program, a human who chose the data to feed it. So maybe it's creating a whole new world of art and literature that just didn't exist before.
Good point. Thanks, Stephanie. Remember, listeners, if you're interested in keeping up to date with the fascinating world of technology, join us here next week on Tech Talk to hear all the latest news.
Both of the photos show people on roller coaster rides. In the first photo, it's a virtual reality roller coaster ride, whereas in the second photo, it's a real one. Of course, one thing that the photos have in common is that they both show people having a really exciting time. It's interesting because in the first photo, they're probably just sitting indoors. However, in the second photo, the people are actually outdoors and probably quite high up. Another important difference between the photos is that the people are all wearing special glasses in the first photo, but in the second photo, they don't need to. One other similarity between the photos is that in both photos, the people look happy, but they also look quite nervous. Personally, I don't really like roller coaster rides because I find them quite scary, mainly because I don't like high places. So if I had to choose one of the two rides, I'd prefer the first one. That's because I would know that I'm not actually in any real danger. I've never actually tried wearing virtual reality glasses before, so I think it'd be quite exciting. But I still think it's quite frightening because I'm sure you feel like what you're doing is real. Sports.
Athletics. Baseball. Basketball. Climbing. Cricket. Cycling. Diving. Football. Golf. Gymnastics. Horse riding. Ice hockey. Ice skating. Judo. Karate. Rugby. Sailing. Skiing. Snowboarding. Swimming. Tennis. Volleyball. Weightlifting.
Types of sport.
Ball. Combat. Individual. Indoor. Non-competitive. Team. Water. Winter.
Sports equipment.
Bat. Boots. Club. Goal. Goalpost. Goggles. Net. Racket. Skates. Skis. Stick. Trainers.
Things you can do with a ball.
Bounce. Catch. Head. Hit. Kick. Pass. Throw.
Sports venues.
Course. Court. Gym. Pitch. Pool. Rink. Slope. Stadium. Track.
Sports venues with a difference. The Camp Nou in Barcelona is one of the biggest football stadiums in the world, with a capacity of approximately 100,000 people. Manchester United won a memorable Champions League final there when they beat Bayern Munich. In the 91st minute, they were losing 1-0, Then they scored a goal, and it was 1-1. They got another goal 30 seconds later, in the last minute of the match. Musselburgh Links in Scotland is the oldest golf course in the world. They say that Mary Queen of Scots played there in 1567. The English national football team plays at Wembley. They also have pop and rock concerts there. When they do this, they need to cover the pitch so that nothing happens to the grass, which is quite expensive. The Wimbledon Tennis Championships began in 1877. It can take about 15 months to prepare the grass for the outdoor court where the top players compete. The word gym comes from a longer word, which was the name for the place in ancient Greece where athletes trained and took exercise. Sometimes they had a track nearby, which they could run around. Y40 in Padua, Italy, is the deepest pool in the world. You can swim 40 metres down. The water is 32 degrees Celsius. One of the most beautiful places in the world to skate is the rink which they sometimes install in Moscow's Red Square, near St. Basil's Cathedral. Corbett's Couloir in Wyoming, US, is one of the world's most frightening ski slopes. There's a very big jump, and it's quite rocky. Football, but not as you know it. Liv Cook was 14 when she signed to play with a football club in the north of England. In one match, she had a back injury. To help her recover and stay fit, she started doing tricks with the football and improving her ball control skills, all part of a sport called freestyle football. Because of her back problem, she had to practice sitting down. Luckily, this helped her to learn some very difficult tricks. She enjoyed it all so much that she decided to take up the sport full-time at the age of just 16. She became the UK's first professional female football freestyler, the youngest in the world. 2017 was the year when Liv became the world champion at the age of just 18. To win a freestyle competition, 2 people go on stage for 3 minutes and take turns to do tricks for 30 seconds each. Judges then decide the winner. Liv often appears on social media, TV shows and adverts, doing her amazing tricks. She used to be nervous about standing up and speaking at school, but now she can get up on a stage in front of thousands of people and show off her skills. She says it was freestyle football that changed her life. Ben Nuttall is another great football freestyler whose videos are amazing. One day, somebody offered him the chance to become a member of the England Techball team. His reply was more or less, "What's Techball?" In fact, it was 3 Hungarians who created the sport in 2014. It's a combination of table tennis and football. It's played on a special table that goes up in a curve in the middle. You can kick a football or hit it with your head, knee or chest. You can touch the ball a maximum of 3 times, but each time it has to be with a different part of the body. The last time you touch the ball, it must land on the opponent's side of the table, or you lose the point. If the opponents can't return the ball, they lose the point. The first team to reach 20 points wins a set, and you play a maximum of 3 sets. Singles and doubles matches are played, and mixed couples or teams with male and female players are fine. After they called him, Ben went to France, which was where the Techball World Cup took place that year. He was knocked out of the competition, but he really enjoyed learning the sport. Now some famous footballers play it in training sessions, and people think it could one day become an Olympic sport. Liv and Ben may be magicians with a football, but they can't compare to Valentin Descamps at horseball. Horseball is very different to football because you don't kick the ball. The first thing that you need is a horse, of course, and then a football with 6 handles around it. You can pick the ball up and throw and catch it, but you can't keep the ball in your hands for more than 10 seconds, and your opponents can try to pull the ball out of your hands, like in rugby. You score by throwing the ball into a big basket. So, if you're a fan of horses, rugby and basketball, this is the sport for you. But don't think it's easy. You need great balance, strength and confidence. And you need to be an excellent horse rider.
Today on Stars of Sport, we're looking at somebody who has been in the news a lot recently, Alex Honnold. For those of you who don't know the name already, Alex is one of the best climbers in the world. Here to tell us more about him is Jack Miller. Jack, what makes Alex Honnold so special?
Well, Alex is probably most famous for climbing a massive vertical wall called El Capitan. The wall, which is more than 900 metres high, is in Yosemite National Park in the USA. Quite a few climbers had already climbed El Capitan before Alex, but Alex was the first person who climbed it on his own without any climbing equipment.
That's what they call free soloing, right?
That's it. Now, of course, if you don't have any safety equipment, no ropes, no helmet, you have almost no chance of surviving if you fall. So it's great to watch, but very few people consider doing it. You make just one mistake and it can be fatal.
The one thing that free soloists usually carry is a bag of chalk, isn't it?
Yes, that's to keep their hands dry so that they can hold on to the rock better. But when you're high up on a rocky mountain wall, strange things can still happen, like birds attacking you, dangerous insects suddenly coming out of the rock, or a strong wind pushing you when you don't expect it. Believe me, it can be very frightening.
How long did it take Alex to get to the top of El Capitan?
It took him 3 hours and 56 minutes. The first people who ever climbed El Capitan, back in 1958, took 45 days to get to the top. And that was over a period of 18 months and using a lot of climbing equipment.
They filmed Alex getting to the top of El Capitan, didn't they?
Yes, the film, which is called Free Solo, won an Academy Award, an Oscar. The cameramen, who were already professional climbers, did an amazing job.
So what's Alex's secret? How can he do something which nobody else can?
Well, Alex seems extremely calm, but he says that's because of all the careful preparation he does. I mean, he works really hard, remembering every single place where he needs to put his hands or feet. He memorizes the whole route in detail.
When did he take up climbing?
He got into it when he was really small. He loved climbing trees, and when he was 5, he went to a gym and did some indoor climbing. The interesting thing is, he says he wasn't very good at it at first, but he really went for it and practiced for hours. When he was in his late teens, he ended up winning important competitions and breaking records, but he nearly always climbed indoors. He spent very little time climbing outdoors during that period. It was later, when he was at university, that he started climbing mountains.
How old is he now?
About 35, I think. More or less. It's interesting. He has a house, but he prefers the freedom of following the good weather and going climbing when and where he wants, so he usually lives in a van. Sacramento, where he grew up, is quite close to Yosemite, so he's always loved moving around that area.
Does he do any other sports?
He works out and runs a little just to keep fit for climbing. But that's it. Climbing seems to be his one true passion. That and being outdoors in a beautiful place like Yosemite.
What do you think? Does competitive sport have a bad influence on students?
Yes, I think it does. Not all of us are good at sport. With competitive sport, it seems that winning is everything. So some students stop doing sport because they think it's only for people who are very good at it. That means they stop getting exercise, which is terrible.
I take your point, but I think that we all have to get used to winning and losing. Learning to lose is an important lesson in life. You can't always win and be the best, so you need to live with it. After all, exams and tests in other subjects are also competitive.
I see what you mean, but isn't it better to encourage students to just compete with themselves? I mean, instead of trying to be the fastest in the class, the important thing should be just to do your best time, to improve your personal best, even if you're the slowest in the class.
That's true, but maybe having things like competitive races helps you improve much more. Everybody goes faster because they want to beat the rest. Everybody wants to win.
I totally disagree with you. Lots of people don't care about winning, but they probably don't want to be the last. Perhaps because of that, they really go for it and try to catch up with the others. But then they might hurt themselves because they're trying too hard. In the end, they probably decide they hate running.
You've got a point. I know a lot of people who prefer non-competitive sports, like ice skating or working out on their own in a gym. They just want to do sport to relax. But remember that you can relax and enjoy yourself playing in a team, even if you lose. What's more, playing in team competitions can help you learn lots of things that are useful in life, like teamwork and responsibility.
I agree to an extent that you can learn things from playing in a team. But I think the important thing is just finding a sport that you like and that doesn't make you feel stressed. Doing sport should be good for your body and your mind. That's why I think schools should offer students lots of different choices and let them decide which sport they want to do, and also if they want to do it competitively or not.
Maybe you're right.
Artists.
Actor. Artist. Choreographer. Composer. Conductor. Dancer. Fashion designer. Designer. Film director. Theatre director. Director. Drummer. Guitarist. Musician. Painter. Performer. Photographer. Pianist. Sculptor. Singer. Singer-songwriter.
The visual arts.
Abstract painting. Art gallery. Collection. Exhibition. Landscape. Masterpiece. Self-portrait. Portrait. Sculpture. Sketch. Still life.
The National Gallery, London.
The National Gallery in London is one of the most important art galleries in the world. It's in Trafalgar Square and is the home of a big permanent collection of European art from the 13th to the 20th centuries. There are many masterpieces there. For example, some of the best works by Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. Talking of da Vinci, there is also an important pencil drawing by the artist, an unfinished sketch which he used as preparation for a later painting. In the permanent collection, there are all sorts of works. You can see landscapes such as the Hay Wain by John Constable, a painting of the English countryside. There is the famous still life Sunflowers by Vincent van Gogh, a simple picture of yellow flowers in a yellow vase. Another great painting is a self-portrait by Rembrandt, a picture he painted of himself when he was 34. However, the National Gallery has few 3D works or sculptures. At the National Gallery, there are also temporary exhibitions showing the works of a particular artist or group of artists. For example, in 2019, they showed some works by a modern American artist called Sean Scully, who usually paints abstract paintings, for example, lines and stripes of different colours.
The performing arts.
Audience. Cast. Composition. Concert. Lighting. Lyrics. Main character. Musical. Orchestra. Performance. Play. Plot. Scene. Stage. Tune.
An appetite for art.
Artists can be as inspired by food as top chefs. Take Anne Griffiths. Most of us just add milk to cornflakes and eat them. Not Anne. She looks at each cornflake carefully to choose special examples. She has produced a unique work of art called Taxonomy of the Cornflake. 84 cornflakes all organised inside a frame. Anne said she had decided to use cornflakes because she had wanted to question how we see the typical things that are always around us. She wants to know, does the way that we display something change our attitude to it? An art collector was very impressed by the work when he saw it at the Royal Academy Summer Exhibition and bought it for £900. Anne used 11 different brands of cornflakes. She said, if you look at them, they are amazing shapes. There are so many variations, and every single one is unique. Once something is put in a display cabinet and pinned precisely with a number, then people become interested. She told the press that she didn't usually eat cornflakes for breakfast. She prefers marmalade on toast. If you think making art out of cornflakes is bananas, wait until you see what artist Stéphane Broussin uses. His works are drawings on bananas. They're also a type of sculpture, as he often cuts some of the skin off the fruit. Stéphane, who is from the Netherlands, has over 117,000 followers on Instagram. He started by just drawing a little happy face on a banana. He went on to experiment more and more, gradually producing some very complex designs. He said he liked the 3D effect he could get, and also the bright colour of the banana contrasting with the black or blue pen. He liked the feel and texture of bananas too. He said he could walk through the supermarket and see a particular banana and just get inspired by the shape. One problem with banana art is that when you make a mistake, you can't just erase it and do it again. Another is that bananas won't last forever, so you have to work quite fast, and the works will go bad in the end. But Stéphane told an interviewer that didn't bother him. The important thing for him is the photo of the banana art when it's finished. In 2016, a wealthy businessman bought a photo of a potato for €1 million. It was taken by world-famous Irish photographer Kevin Abosh. Kevin didn't become famous for making art out of food. He's well known for the photographic portraits he takes of famous people. These are easy to identify because they usually have a black background. He used the same technique in 2010 for potato number 345. One day, a German businessman saw the photo in Kevin's studio, loved it, and offered to buy it. Kevin said the photo was very special for him and he wouldn't take less than €1,000,000 for it. So that was the price they agreed. There are 2 other versions of the photo, one which Kevin still has and another in a museum in Serbia. Kevin's studio commented, "He has photographed many potatoes. This is one of his favourites."
Welcome to our weekly podcast, Get Out There and Do Something. This is the podcast made by teenagers for teenagers who want to get outside and do something different. Today, we're with Miranda Kennedy, who's here to tell us all about rock balancing or rock sculpture. Miranda, why don't we start with the name? What's the official name for what you do?
There are lots of possible names. Stone stacking, rock balancing, rock sculpture. I call it rock sculpture, but it makes no difference. The idea is basically the same, making the best sculpture you can by simply putting one rock on top of another.
Is this a competitive activity?
It can be. I mean, there's a European Championship and a World Championship in Texas in the US.
Who wins? The one who builds the highest tower?
For the main prize, it could be the highest, but it doesn't have to be. It's the one with the most rocks that wins. There's this Spanish guy, Pedro Duran, the European champion. Last year, he made a tower with 33 rocks. He's won the competition twice already.
What did he win?
Money. Oh, but the money is to fly to the World Championship. You know, the one in Texas that I mentioned. And then there are medals and cups for the people who come second and third.
I see. Are there any other types of competition apart from using the most rocks?
Yes, there's the artistic prize for the most beautiful structure. Personally, that's what I prefer doing, making artistic sculptures by balancing really big rocks on top of small ones, or even making bridges. Then, when I'm happy with my sculpture, I take lots of photos and put them on social media. It's great when you read people's comments and see they love what you're doing. And I love seeing other people's sculptures too. They inspire you to try out new ideas.
I have heard that some people are against rock balancing, though. They say that it can ruin natural landscapes, and it can also be bad for insects, birds, and animals. A lot of insects live under the rocks you use, so you're disturbing their habitat. And that affects the birds or animals that eat the insects too.
Well, I agree up to a point, but that's why when I've finished and taken my photos, I put the rocks back in more or less the same places where I found them. That's especially important in the country because people have often used rock towers as navigation to help them find their way. So, if you leave a new tower, it can confuse people and they can get lost. And I also agree that there are some places where you shouldn't do rock balancing. For example, don't make your sculptures near old historic monuments. Anyway, I think people leaving litter out in the country is much worse than rock sculptures. What we're doing is creating art.
I see. So where do you go to make your rock sculptures?
I live near the coast, so I go to the beach. There are lots of rocks there. Part of the fun is walking on the beach, trying to find ones that are the perfect size and shape for your sculpture.
Well, as long as you make sure to take care of natural landscapes and leave them as you found them, I think rock balancing sounds like a really healthy, relaxing and creative way for all of us to spend our time. And that's exactly what we always look for on this podcast. So come on, listeners, let's get out and try it. And please send me photos of your sculptures. Miranda, thanks for sharing your hobby with us today.
At our school, we usually have one trip each term. We often go to theatres, concerts and museums, but last term we went on a really original trip. We went to a radio and TV studio. It was a small local studio, and the idea was to show us what a studio is like and help us see what happens behind the scenes. Before we went to the studio, we had to prepare 2 things. One was a short news story about anything we wanted, and the other was a debate about a story that was in the news at that time. We got to the studio at about 9 a.m. The people at the studio had organised different activities for us. First, we went to a room where we had to record our news stories, talking to the camera just like they do on real news programmes. At first, I was really nervous and I made a few mistakes. But then I started to relax, and a few minutes later I read my news story again, and I did it really well this time. In fact, the studio director said I'd been as good as a professional newsreader. That was a really special moment for me. I felt really good about myself. After that, we went to the radio room, and 6 people from our class had the debate. That was great fun. We were really quiet to start with, and we weren't speaking because of the microphones. But after a while, we all got into it and had a brilliant time. To be honest, after 5 minutes, we were talking so much that they found it hard to stop us. Finally, they asked us what we'd enjoyed the most. I told them that I'd found the studio a bit frightening when we'd arrived. But in the end, I loved reading the news. In fact, I'd really like to do it again one day. It was definitely the best school trip I've been on.
Countries and nations.
Capital city. Currency. Flag. National anthem. National symbol. National emblem. Official language. Population. Royal family. King. Queen. Prince. Princess.
Governments 1.
Constitutional monarchy. Democracy. Monarchy. Republic.
Governments 2.
Campaign. General election. Laws. Member. Political party. Politician. Run. Vote.
An introduction to UK government.
The United Kingdom is a constitutional monarchy. They have a general election to choose the Prime Minister at least every 5 years. You have to be 18 to participate and be able to vote. Historically, the 3 biggest political parties are the Conservative Party, the Labour Party, and the Liberal Democrat Party. They organise campaigns before the elections to convince people to choose them. If people choose you to represent them in Parliament, you become an MP, or Member of Parliament. The government runs the country. For example, they suggest new rules and laws.
Flying the flag.
The flag of the United Kingdom is usually known as the Union Jack. The name Jack might have come from an old sailing term for the flag that was placed at the front of a ship. The Union Jack is made up of the crosses of St. George, representing England, St. Andrew, representing Scotland, and St. Patrick, representing Ireland. Many people wonder why it doesn't include anything to represent Wales. That's because when the Union Jack was first designed, Wales was at that time already united with England. It may have been difficult to incorporate the Welsh flag anyway because of the big red dragon. In 1902, New Zealand designed their flag with the Union Jack in the top left corner to reflect their origins as a British colony. The flag also contains the stars of the Southern Cross to emphasise the country's location in the Southern Pacific Ocean. Some people in New Zealand must have been unhappy with their flag because they decided to have an official competition to design a new one. The winner of this historic competition was a black, silver and blue flag with an artistic picture of a fern leaf, a national symbol of New Zealand. There was then a referendum in 2016 to choose between the old flag and the new one. It can't have been an easy choice. A relatively small majority of 57% chose to keep the old one. People usually call the US flag the Stars and Stripes. There is a legend that a woman called Betsy Ross might have been the first person to make the American flag, but experts say it can't be true because there's no real evidence for this. Early versions of the flag, from around 1777, had 13 stars and 13 stripes. That number was significant. There were 13 British colonies on the Atlantic coast of America. These declared independence from Great Britain in 1776 and formed the United States of America. Today, the flag has 50 stars to represent the 50 states of the US. Some people think there are 52, but that could be because they wrongly think Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico are states. Mexico has the record for the biggest flag ever flown from a flagpole. It was 60 meters wide. It must be hard to miss a flag that's so big. In the middle of the Mexican flag is an eagle on a cactus with a snake in its mouth. This represents an important legend. The Mexica people were looking for a place to build a home and believed that if they saw an eagle sitting on a cactus with a snake in its mouth, that would signal the ideal place to settle. One day the vision came true on a small island in the middle of a lake. At first sight, it didn't seem the best place to start a new life, but they built their city, Tenochtitlan, exactly on that spot in 1325. This is where Mexico City stands today. It isn't only countries that use flags. They're associated with ships too, because they were an efficient means of communication at sea. That's why pirates used them. They had many different and dramatic flag designs, with skeletons, hearts, swords, or even just completely black or red. The stereotypical pirate flag, which is black with a white skull and crossbones, is known as the Jolly Roger. Some people think that the name Jolly Roger might have come from the French Joli Rouge, the pretty red. It couldn't have been a pretty sight to see a pirate ship flying a blood-red flag, though. It meant that the pirates would take no prisoners.
1.
You have to go now.
2.
You must have known.
1.
She might have gone.
2.
They can't have done it.
3.
It couldn't have been me.
4.
You must have heard it.
5.
We may have lost.
6.
They must have known.
And next on our programme, we have our special section on this day in history, where we look at a historic event that happened on this same date. Today is the 24th of August. So, tell us, Anna, what happened on this day?
Well, we think that it was on this day in the year 79 CE that Mount Vesuvius in Italy erupted. And as you probably know, this was the moment when the city of Pompeii was destroyed by the eruption. What's curious is that it was one day after the Roman festival dedicated to Vulcan, the Roman god of fire. And if you didn't already know, it's from Vulcan that we actually get the modern word volcano.
Wow, what a coincidence.
Ash fell on the city for 18 hours. The next morning, an avalanche of ash, lava and mud came down the mountain at about 160 kilometres per hour and covered the whole city. A lot of people escaped, but over 1,000 couldn't get away.
They were especially unlucky with the wind that day, weren't they?
That's right. Usually the wind blows in the opposite direction, but on that day the wind blew straight towards the city. If it had blown in the other direction, they would probably have been safe.
So the city remained hidden under metres of ash and rock. How and when did they discover it again?
It was first rediscovered accidentally in 1599, but it was only in 1748 that they started to really explore Pompeii again.
The amazing thing is that everything was well preserved, wasn't it?
Yes, it wouldn't have stayed in such great condition if ashes hadn't covered it.
It was almost like discovering the city a day after the accident.
Yes. For example, they found bread that looked like it was baked yesterday. You can even see the mark that the baker used to show who baked it.
And apart from lots of beautifully painted houses, there's even graffiti on some of the walls, isn't there?
Yes, there's a lot of graffiti. Lots of messages from one person to another or to groups of people. It's almost like an ancient version of a social networking website. What's really interesting is that there are lots of examples of political graffiti, with messages telling you the best politician to vote for in the next elections. It must have been part of a campaign.
Another interesting thing about the graffiti is that it's mainly on the houses of rich people, isn't it?
Yes, so some people think the rich people who lived there either wrote the graffiti themselves or gave their permission to others to write on their walls. If they hadn't given their permission, it seems logical that they would have painted over the graffiti to cover it up.
And this takes us back to the bread, doesn't it? There's a really interesting painting where a man wearing white is giving out bread.
Exactly. Now, of course, it could be a baker selling bread, but another theory is that the man in white must have been a rich man, and he might have been giving people free bread because he wanted them to vote for him. To win an election and be in power, you needed money. The local leaders had to pay for entertainment for the city, gladiators, famous musicians, bulls and other wild animals.
Of course, the eruption of Vesuvius and the destruction of Pompeii were tragic events. But, looking on the positive side, if it hadn't been for the preservation of Pompeii under ash, we would never have discovered some of these fascinating things about everyday life in ancient Rome. Anna, thanks for telling us about it.
I can see a group of men in the middle of the picture. They're all wearing similar clothes, yellow shirts and jeans. They're pulling on something, on a rope, and it seems that it's really hard. I imagine it must be a game or a competition, because they look as if they're in a team. In the background, I can see quite a lot of people watching the men. It seems that it's quite an important event, because in the background, I think I can see a coach and some tents. People must have come specially to see the competition. I'm not sure, but on the right, I think some people might be taking photographs too. The blue thing in the top left corner must be a flag, but I don't know which country or region it's from. I've never actually seen an event like this live, and I've never tried to do it either. I'm not sure I want to really, because when you look at the men's faces, it looks like they're having a bad time because it must be really difficult to pull like that for a long time. But I'm sure that watching something like this must be fun. Shops.
Bakery. Butchers. Charity shop. Chemists. Clothes shop. Department store. Electrical goods shop. Greengrocers. Jewellers. Post office. Stationery shop.
Online shopping.
Bestseller. Cart. Cash. Deliver. Delivery. Package. Purchase. Receipt. Recommend. Recommendation. Refund. Replace. Replacement. Return. Track.
A beginner's guide to online shopping.
When you find a product you want to buy, you add it to your basket, sometimes also called a cart. You can't pay with cash. You usually use a debit card. When you buy something online, they deliver it to your house. It may be the postman or woman who brings the package. You can often track the order and find out where it is at each moment. If there's a problem with your purchase, the thing you buy, you should be able to return it to the seller. The online shop may ask if you want a replacement, the same or a similar product, or a refund, the amount of money you spent on the product. To show that you really bought the item, you may need to give them a document showing you bought the product, a receipt. Often, online shops will give you recommendations for other new things to buy, suggestions based on what you have looked at or bought before. They may also suggest their best sellers, their most popular products.
Buy it, wear it, then what?
Recently, about 5,000 people attended London Fashion Week. Some of the designs are so strange that you may think they have no connection with the clothes you buy in high street shops. But you'd be wrong. The designers who work for big chain stores examine the latest trends and then decide how to adapt them for the general consumer and make them cheaper. It seems that everyone loves buying cheap clothes, and lots of them. The European Clothing Action Plan, 2017, calculates that the average person in the UK buys so many items of clothing each year that they can fill a small suitcase. In 2016, a study by Greenpeace found that the average customer buys 60% more clothing than 15 years ago. What is perhaps the most shocking thing is that it seems that the average item of clothing is worn only 7 times before it is thrown away. Nowadays, clothes are generally getting cheaper and cheaper, but in many cases, the quality is getting worse too. Chain stores try to please consumers by delivering new fashion to the high street as fast as they can. People call it fast fashion. They focus on speed and low cost, not on quality. The clothes are made so cheaply and with such poor materials that they don't usually last very long. The fashion industry is now creating so much pollution that experts are getting very worried. Look at the facts. Research by Pesticide Action Network, 2017, claims that 11% of the world's poisonous pesticides are used to help make cotton. According to a study by Water Footprint Network, 2005, it can take as much as 2,727 litres of water to make just one T-shirt. Finally, another study by Greenpeace, 2017, states that polyester can take decades to decompose. And decomposing clothes can release harmful gases that are bad for the planet. When you think that by 2050, people may buy 3 times as many clothes as now, you soon realise that the impact could be catastrophic. To combat these problems and make fashion sustainable, the fashion industry wants to create a circular fashion system. This means that the clothes that customers throw away are used again in new clothes. The European Parliamentary Research Service, 2019, confirms that, globally, less than 1% of clothing material is recycled into new clothes. Some UK consumers give their old clothes to charity, but only 10 to 20% of these clothes are sold in second-hand or charity shops, and most are burnt or go directly to the rubbish. Another more radical solution than the circular fashion system is for customers to decide not to buy clothes, but just to rent them for a while until they get tired of them. This way, clothes are used for longer. You can try different styles and trends and not worry that you will suddenly get tired of them after wearing them just once or twice. Everybody has probably bought at least one item of clothing for a special event and then never worn it again. Such a waste. Even more radical than the idea of renting clothes is a new initiative in Scotland called Pass It On Week. People can exchange clothes and anything else they don't want or need anymore. When you pass something on, you're helping yourself, helping somebody else, and helping the planet.
First, Black Friday, then Cyber Monday, now Giving Tuesday.
On Black Friday and Cyber Monday, people often spend a lot of money. Some calculate it as nearly $8 billion on Cyber Monday in the US alone. There are often special offers. Many products cost less than usual. Some people think they are saving money because their purchases are cheaper than usual. But maybe they're wasting money because they're buying something they don't really need. It can seem hard to work all week to earn money, but then so easy for that money to just disappear. In 2012, some people decided to start Giving Tuesday on the day after Cyber Monday. The organization didn't want to make money for themselves and become rich. They wanted to raise money for people who need it. They got $400 million online in the US in 2018. A lot of big global companies and organizations such as Google, Microsoft, and UNICEF were very generous and donated money to the organization. Giving Tuesday now takes place in over 70 countries around the world. Schools can help too. So, try to find out more.
Conversation 1.
Hi, Katie. Where have you been? I was worried. I thought you'd only gone out for 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I just went to the supermarket to buy a couple of things I needed, and in the end, I bought all of this. If only I'd had my lunch before I went shopping.
Why?
Because they say that if you eat before you go shopping in a supermarket, you spend less.
Really?
Yes, because you don't feel hungry, so you don't pay attention to all the biscuits and cakes and ice cream. That's what I bought in the end.
What I do is make a list of what I need before I go, and then I only buy those things. If it's not on my list, I don't buy it.
That's a good idea.
Anyway, don't worry. I'll help you eat all those extra biscuits and cakes.
Great. Thanks a lot, Jenny.
Conversation 2.
Are you doing anything on Saturday, Harry?
No, I don't think so. Why?
I'm going to the shopping centre to buy a new tablet. You know a lot about tablets and stuff like that, don't you? I wanted you to come and help me choose a good one.
Yeah, okay. I wish I had enough money to buy a tablet. Mine doesn't work anymore.
Really?
Yeah. When I bought it, I thought I was saving money because it was so cheap. But it was cheap because it was badly made. I wish I'd bought a better one. But now I know the good from the bad. I learnt my lesson.
Yeah, that's why I wanted your help. Anyway, I want something in the middle. Not too cheap, but not the most expensive either.
Don't worry. Let's go to that new department store. They have lots of different models there.
Okay, great.
Conversation 3.
Look at these. They're beautiful, aren't they? And there's 30% discount on them.
Let's see. They are nice, Mum.
Let's see if they've got my size. No. They're all small sizes. If only my feet were smaller.
Ah, they've got my size though, Mum. Do you mind if I try them on quickly?
Go on then.
Oh, yes. They're perfect. Can I have them? Come on, you did say they're nice. And they're much cheaper than usual.
Oh.
Mum? What's the matter? Why are you looking so upset?
It's just every time we come shopping, I find all the nice things and you end up getting them.
Well, it's not my fault my feet are smaller than yours. Now, Mum, where's your debit card?
And on top of everything, I have to pay.
Conversation 4.
I wish you wouldn't do that.
What?
Every time I suggest going shopping at the weekend, you say you've got something else to do.
Well, it's true. I just remembered that I have to go and watch my cousin play football. He's got an important match on Saturday. You understand, don't you?
Yeah, this weekend it's your cousin. Last weekend it was your uncle. The time before it was your grandfather.
It's just that I've got a big family and we're very close.
OK, but when I said we could go to see a film, you said yes. As soon as I say the word shopping, you suddenly find an excuse for not being able to go.
You're right. Look, Lucy, it isn't that I hate going shopping with you. It's just that I hate going shopping with anybody.
Can I help you?
Yes, I'm looking for a hoodie, you know, a top. It's for a friend.
What size is he?
Large.
Large. OK. We've got some here in black and grey.
Have you got anything a bit brighter? These are a bit too dark, a bit too serious.
How about these? These are new in.
Yeah, I like the green one and the blue one. Do you have them both in large?
Let me have a look. We've got the blue one in large, but the green one is only in small or medium.
OK, I'll take the blue one. Can I bring it back if it doesn't fit or if my friend doesn't like it?
Yeah, no problem. Just remember to bring the receipt. And you've got 28 days to bring it back. Good morning. Can I help you?
Yes, I'd like to make a complaint.
Oh dear. What seems to be the problem?
I bought this hoodie here last week as a present for a friend. It shrank the first time he washed it. It was a large, but now it's more like a small.
I am sorry. We haven't had anybody else with that problem. Are you sure he followed the washing instructions?
Yes.
I see. Well, we can either replace it for you straight away, or we could give you a refund. Which would you prefer?
I'll take the refund, please.
Fine. Have you got the receipt?
Yes, here it is.
Thank you. £40. There you are. Sorry about that.
Hi, my name's Luke, and I'm talking to you today about my year as a team leader for my class. I hope that many of you will think about doing this when you hear what good fun it is. I wanted to be a team leader because I'm very energetic and I enjoy doing lots of different activities. I also try to be cheerful so that everyone wants to join in with what I'm trying to do. But you also need to be quite hard-working because there's a lot to do. So I had to tell all the students how I would help them, and I was lucky because most of my classmates voted for me. Being team leader means helping the teacher to organise things like class events, but also you and your classmates can think of things to do together. So, for example, we planned a sports day and we raised some money for the school library. Also, I had to help when we went on a school trip. I made sure everyone knew where we were going and had their tickets and lunch and so on. And when we were on the coach, I had to make sure everyone sat down, which was really difficult. It is hard because some students don't really want to join in, but that's your job. To make them want to do things and work together. I really recommend it though. It's good to try as it means you get to know all the other students really well and you can help make any events good fun. And you learn a lot as well. So I'm much more patient than I was before. Now, any questions?
Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. Today, I'm talking to Martin, a high school student, about an app he's designed. So, welcome Martin. First of all, can you tell us how you managed to develop this app?
Well, we were doing an IT course at school and the teacher asked us to design something ourselves. I wanted to make something useful, but I didn't know how to design an app. A classmate of mine suggested I watched YouTube videos, so I did. It was easier than I expected, in fact.
Okay, so can you tell us about your app? What is it for?
Yeah. So all the students I know really like taking part in challenges, sometimes for charity, but sometimes just for fun. But it's much better if a group can do it together. And of course, you can raise more money as a group. So I developed this app where people can find out about the challenges and connect with each other to do them.
So, do you have to get an idea then message other people? How does it work?
Maybe. But what we do is list all the various events going on around the country. So, you pick the area you're in or one you want to go to, then you can find people locally who are interested in joining you.
And I understand it's been very successful.
Well, I think people have been talking about it a lot, and then because so many people are using it for social connections, it's become really popular. People like joining up with others who have the same interests as them, so the app's doing really well.
And did you do this just for fun, or does it make money for you?
Many of the organisations running the events want to pay to advertise extra information, but we don't charge the users. The school did give us a small amount to start, but we paid that back.
So, what does the future hold for you? More apps?
I'm not sure, but it's shown me that with a bit of creativity, you can do anything. I do want to try new things in app design, but I might go on to do a more advanced course in IT first. Who knows?
1. You will hear two friends talking about a sports match.
Hi, Matt. Did you see the college basketball match on Saturday?
No. Was it good? Our team were playing, weren't they?
Yes, it was great. I don't think our team were that good, but the others were fantastic, so it was a really interesting match. There were a few who were brilliant, so in the end it was quite exciting.
Did anyone else go?
No, just me. But honestly, it was so crowded that sometimes I couldn't see properly. I ran down to the front in the end. Then I really enjoyed it.
Oh, I'll definitely come next time.
2. You will hear a girl talking about a performance she watched.
Last night, I went to see a really great performance by Nightworks, that new band, in the Lemon Hall in Aberdeen. It was amazing because so many people went that the audience was really excited and joined in with all the singing. I've got a lot of their songs on my phone, so it was fantastic to hear them live. The band were great, and I didn't expect them all to be so young. My seat was quite far away, near the back, but it was still brilliant.
3. You will hear two friends talking about their sports training.
Oh, I'm so tired after that race.
I know, me too. But the coach said we have to keep moving or our legs will hurt. Let's keep jogging for a bit.
Okay, but slow down. The coach asked me if I can run in the relay next week, so I don't want an injury.
It's okay. It's not the most important race of the year.
Yes, but he said we must try to beat our time at every race.
True. It's good practice. So come on, go faster.
4. You will hear a boy talking about an art class he went to.
I went to my first art class last week, and I was quite frightened because everyone was so good. I thought the teacher would be annoyed with me, but she was really nice and she told me I was doing okay. We had to do a still life with some fruit, and my drawing of an apple was terrible. And there were quite a lot of people, so I couldn't really get a good view of the table. But I managed in the end, and I think I'll get better every week.
1. Where did the girl work?
I sometimes used to work in a shop on Saturdays to get a bit of extra pocket money. It was good fun, but when the customers asked if I could help them with the clothes sizes, I didn't know anything. I used to guess. I was okay if they wanted gifts or electrical things, but I was never allowed to work in those departments.
2. What do the brother and sister decide to buy?
Dad said he wanted a white shirt, didn't he?
Are you sure? I thought he asked for blue. He must have said that because it's to go with his new suit.
Oh. Look, there's a pack here with them both.
I'd get that then. He might be happier with that anyway.
I'm not sure. It's more expensive. But he isn't here to ask, so I agree.
3. What did the boy want to see?
You know, I was just in Moscow and it was wonderful. We bought loads of things, but we didn't have enough time to see all the museums and art galleries. If we had stayed one more day, we would have had the opportunity to go on a train to the countryside. I enjoyed the city, but I wish I'd seen how people live in other parts as well.
4. What is the boy missing?
Have you decided what to put in your project yet? Which country are you doing?
Italy. I found out about the parliament and I've got the flag, but I need a photo of the capital city. How's yours going?
Not too bad. I'm doing Greece. I've got a great recording of the national anthem, so I'm almost there. Let me help you.